if we say, oh, we're just going to jump off the cliff because there's no return. Okay, once you jump off the cliff, there's absolutely no return. I want to give you a secret. 2 years ago, when I started coaching, I wanted to do my first webinar, my very, very first webinar. I didn't know what a webinar consisted of. And I started going around Facebook groups, and I thought, hang on a minute. So here are all the things that I have to do. I have to build a business plan. I have to do this. I have to do that. I have to market my services probably through a webinar. So this way people would get to know me if they assist to my course. And at the end of the webinar, I would introduce my services. And I divided all of these things. And suddenly I started realizing that actually my trigger point, my jumping off the cliff point, was the announcement of the webinar. So I just went on Facebook, on a few groups, and I just said, hey, actually, I've noticed, which is true, I noticed a lot of people complaining about not being able to find work, etc., etc. I'm actually organizing a free course, a free webinar entitled How to Get 3 Times More Job Interviews in 3 Easy Steps. I've done that. The result was, wow, overwhelming. Hundreds of comments. Obviously, every time there's a comment, it attracts more people, it creates a buzz, etc., etc. But I had a dilemma. You see, I didn't have a webinar. I didn't know what were these 3 steps. I didn't know anything, but I just decided to jump off the cliff, trusting that the Parkinson's law would do the rest. So I announced my webinar the following week, and I had a week where I started working on 3 steps to get 3 times more job interviews. And it had to be easy, like 1, 2, 3. And it had to be understandable, it had to be new, I couldn't copy anyone, etc., etc. I went through hell during that week, honestly, because I knew that I was going to be judged. There was no safety net. In 1 week, I had the webinar going and people have subscribed. Every time people subscribed, it just reminded me, the adrenaline rushed out. And obviously it was a stressful time. But guess what happened? I've done it. And it was great. And it was absolutely great. This is one of my favorite courses, actually. It helped a lot of people. And you know what's going on, guys, is that, wow, after that, suddenly I started having clients. And I wasn't thinking about business plans and and procrastinating, but suddenly I actually started, I was in motion. Things were starting to happen. So, of course, this is what I want to share with you. Okay, so the jumping off the cliff, finding something that simply allows you to be on emergency mode. Something that suddenly says, actually, it's now urgent, let's do it. And I'm going to give you a few examples here because it works 100%. Imagine if you want to pursue your studies or run a marathon, okay? Well, you know what you need to do? You don't need to train yet. You don't need to, do anything. You just need to jump off the cliff. Because if you jump off the cliff, there's no way you go back. And this is what jumping off the cliff means. It's got to be an instant act, an act that doesn't take long. So when I posted a post on that Facebook group, that was it. There was a short as that. That's it. And it's hard to reverse. You've got to do something that's hard to reverse. That's jumping off the cliff. Okay? So if you want to run a marathon, I don't care if you're not trained to run a marathon. It doesn't matter. Just go to the website where you can sign up to a marathon and actually pay the registration fee. Period. Once you pay the registration fee, your mind is going to take over. It's going to say, whoa, it's in 2 weeks. Whoa, it's in 3 weeks, or it's in 1 month. And suddenly you're going to start training. Suddenly, because time is ticking. You're no longer, you see, the effect of procrastination is that procrastination has this tendency of making you believe you still have time. The Parkinson's law tells you, well, if you give it a lot of time, you'll take everything. If you give it just a bit of time, you just make it available there. And by the way, Parkinson's law can be extended to other areas as well. Just think about time as a resource. If you have a lot of money, you would tend to use it all. If you have a lot of time, you will tend to use it all. If you have tiny bit of time, tiny bit of money, you will do what you have to do with that tiny bit. It's fascinating. It really is. Okay. So that's how you get to do things. Okay. Whether it's, I'll give you another example. You want to save some money. Well, most people would say, oh, I'll leave it at the end of the month and I'll see if I have some money left. No, you don't do that, because money is a resource. If you have a lot of it, it will consume it. But if you say to yourself, no, I'm just going to save it as soon as I receive it. So I get my salary, I get whatever payment, I'm just going to put a bit out on the side straight away. And I'm going to decide to live with that. At first, it sounds amazing to live with that, but suddenly you realize that actually you're living very well with that. And you start putting more and more money on the side. But you see, the jumping off the cliff is save it as soon as you receive it, so that it's gone. Okay. It's no longer in front of you. And that's the secret of jumping off the cliff. You see, how to reverse an instant act, something that doesn't take too long. You just go to your website, go to your bank, online banking access, and you just put it in a different account, or you give it to your spouse, or you put it on the side so that it's no longer in front of you. Let's just say you want to renegotiate your salary, or you want to start a business. Well, you know what you have to do. Hang on. Let me think about this. What do you have to do in order to jump off the cliff so that there's no way you go back, and that your brain functions in emergency mode? Okay? Well, renegotiate your salary or start a business. You know what? Hire a coach. Once you start paying a coach, immediately your brain is no longer in procrastination mode. He's like, that's it. It's done now. We've got to survive. Okay, I'm not going to waste this money. So suddenly things move forward. You see, every time someone comes to me and say, oh, actually, Hamza, yeah, thanks for the free consultation, but I do free consultation, by the way. Thanks for the free consultation, but I have to think about it. There is no way I believe that they're going to come back, because humans are humans. If they don't jump off the cliff via a payment, via something that makes them think, well, it's too late now, got to make it work, they're not going to do it. They're going to procrastinate, they're going to leave it for later, and they're not going to improve their CV, they're not going to renegotiate their salary, they're not going to start a business, period. It's just the way it is. It's fascinating how this little trick works very, very well. If you want to clean or tidy up your house, invite some people. Invite some friends for lunch or dinner, and trust me, you are going to do some cleaning. You see, because once the invitation is out, you can't say to them, oh, sorry, actually, can we postpone? It's hard. You see, it's hard to reverse. These are just examples of what jumping off the cliff can do to you. Now, imagine if you control this and you suddenly realize, but hang on a minute, I'm always doing this and it's working. It's working. Every time I do it, it's working. It puts you in a lot of stress, but you're actually accomplishing things. Now, there's something else that I want to share with you.